Hello beer tubers and welcome to another beer review with me, Peter, the master of hoppets. Today checking out some more smoked beer. Not necessarily a Rauchbier, but an interpretation of Norwegian farmhouse ale. And a classic, really. I'd say a Scandinavian classic. So this is a beer that I got at MBCC from Lung in Norway, so thanks a ton to Lung for the beer. Lung brought a boatload of awesome beers. Among others, a lot of the new Wreck House beers from Nevik, which is awesome. So they'll be really fun to try. But this was actually the beer he gave me that was most stoked on, just because it's one of those beers that I drank when I was getting into craft beer, at least a variant on it. But we're checking out none other than HaandBryggeriet of Wood and Smoke. Now, when I was getting into craft beer, HaandBryggeriet in Norway was one of the first breweries I really kind of visited and checked out from Norway. And the reason being was they were actually sold in supermarkets. I think it was in the co-op chain of chains. I think it was maybe Kvikli or something like that. And it was sold in their shops, and you could buy. Or I think maybe was it called Ups then? I'm not sure. But you could buy their beer, and you could buy Dark Force, which was their wheated imperial stout, which I remember going nuts over. And then you could buy like HaandBryggeriet. You could buy Norwegian Wood, which this is the barrel aged version of. And a lot of those kind of awesome beers they made. You know, they do the Aquavit Porter, they've done the Odin's Tipple, all these classic beers that are just really, really dope. And I haven't drunk the beers a lot lately. Like, it's been a long time since we've seen the beer. Long has sent me beer from them before that I've revisited. And there was a point in time where we got it on the regular here in Denmark. But not, you probably can get it some places, but I have not seen any locally. But he gave me this can, and I'm so stoked on trying it because it's, first of all, really nostalgic. And I know it's going to be good because I remember really enjoying it. Back in the day, I did a review of Norwegian Wood, the classic version, and I think I gave it like an 83 or something, which I think is probably abysmally low, just from what I remember drinking it, you know, in more recent times, and also because back then, when I looked at my grading scale, I didn't look at it, you know, exponentially as I do now, and I didn't compare it to an American grading system as I've been doing for many years now. So 83 is kind of like a small B, so it's not a high grade. But if we're talking American grading scales and an untapped, it'd probably be around 3.5, which I would never probably give it nowadays. But we'll see. I don't want to hype it up too much in my head either. But HaandBryggeriet, you know, they've been around for a long time. They're one of the classic Norwegian craft breweries, and this is, as I said, of Wood and Smoke. Their barrel-aged barrel-aged interpretation of their smoked lager that they do called Norwegian Wood. And Norwegian Wood, as far as I can gather, is their take on Norwegian farmhouse ale. Because back in the day, on farms in Norway, loads of people would brew beer. The beer would be smoky and often featuring herbs and spices like juniper, which is in the beer. And I'm not sure if they used kvike yeast. Kvike yeast is the big thing for using in farmhouse ales, and you know, like also in home brewing it's massive. But in like classic Norwegian brewing tradition, like kvike is what you'd use on farms and whatnot. But I don't think so, as it says it's a lager. So I'm guessing it's more based in, you know, classic Rauchbier tradition, but with a touch of farmhousey inspiration by using juniper in it. But as it says, it's Wood and Smoke is the barrel-aged version of Norwegian Wood, but aged in Aquavit barrels. And they're some of the only brewers doing Aquavit barrel aging like on the regular, which is really cool. They have this, they do the porter and whatnot. And is it just called Aquavit Porter? I think so. But that's, you know, it's really cool because in Norway, one of the most famous aquavits, and if you don't know what it is, aquavit is a Scandinavian spirit made of distillate of, often it's like a distillate that comes from of corn or like a wheat or a potato fermented beverage that's then distilled and then it's spiced. And the big thing is that it has to have caraway is one of the big things for it to be an aquavit, and then some other spices and whatnot. It is like spiced, you have it as shots, whatever. It's a tradition here. But in Norway they have linje, which is quite famous because it's in sherry casks and not just, you know, distilled and released. And that's a great classic aquavit if you haven't tried it already and you want to try some. So I'm guessing it'd be linje barrels, but I'm not entirely sure because there's many micro producers of that as well nowadays. And then they added even more smoked malt in this version and fresh juniper berries. It's 8%. I'm stoked on trying this one. Let's dive into of Wood and Smoke. And thanks so much, Long, for passing on a can of this. I'm stoked on trying it. So pours in the glass, pretty much what I remember. Lightly hazy, copper color. It looks like what you'd expect from a Rauchbier, really. It's like maybe a bit more hazy than classic examples, but it looks exactly what I expect from the style. It's got a slightly beige head, eggshell white maybe, with a slight off tint, like beige tint, but it looks very nice. Let's check out the aroma on this bad boy. Oh, yeah. Oh man, it smells like German brewing tradition meets Scandinavia so crazily. Like, it just reminds me of going to Bamberg and drinking Rauchbier, but then there's just like this Scandinavia coming at you because there's Juniper and then Aquavit. I don't think the Aquavit is like crazy pronounced, but there is that like slightly caraway spicy thing going on. And sherry for that matter too. It's interesting. The Juniper is almost floral in this. Like there's almost like it's like dry Juniper reminds me of gin and sprucey kind of piney vibes, but this is almost like floral lightly. And then it's got like a really nice meaty smoke, like what you expect from this style. It's like that kind of sausagey, campfire smoky kind of profile. It's got like a very nice touch of breadiness and caramelly kind of maltiness to it as well. It just smells awesome. Let's give it a taste, guys. Cheers. Thanks a ton for the beer long. I think this is probably one of the most underappreciated styles in the world, in my mind. Like, man, I love Rauchbier. But this is making a really underappreciated and maybe a style that's not for everyone, even more not for everyone, because there is definitely Aquavit flavor. And Aquavit is not for everyone at all. I'm definitely getting like a drying, woody, caraway, like warmth going down. It's almost like when you have shots of Aquavit. Not nearly as crazy, but like when you have Aquavit for Christmas dinners and whatnot, like it reminds me of that. And the fun thing, a lot of Danes especially have a very, very bad history with Aquavit. These young Danes, like a lot of people don't really like it, but they drink it per tradition. They don't sip and enjoy it or anything. It's just like shots, get hammered. And it's like really strong and a very powerful tasting spirit, and it's often like 45 to 50% alcohol by volume. And people get sick in it, or you just have way too much, and then they get bad like experiences with it. Like a lot of people, like whenever they just smell it, it's like, oh, we had our Christmas party in the beer guild. We did a video a while back, Plena and Plena and I, and Henrik was in the background, and where we talked about we did Bourbon County variants, and we talked about how we're going to this beer dinner guild, and it was so fun going there. We had so much fun. We had lots of beer, we had lots of Aquavit, lots of Danish Christmas food, but the Aquavit thing was exactly like that. Some of my friends there sitting there with their shot of Aquavit, they had a plethora of different Danish Aquavits to choose from, and you could get a normal shot, which was like these huge, like slender looking glasses, and it has like, I think how much, 3 centiliters, 4 centiliters maybe, or something like that, and filled to the brim. Like there was like a bubble on top of the glass. You couldn't even like lift it. And they had a plethora of all kinds of different Aquavits you could try from the Danish distillery that makes the Aalborg Aquavit. And we went there, and like some people were like, "Oh, this is nice," and some were like taking the shot instantly or just half. I was like, because they're just used to drinking it way too hard, going nuts in it, and wanting like. You just need to take it easy with it, like, and enjoy it and sip it. Just don't throw it down your neck, like, then it can actually be really nice. But that's why I think this is not a beer for everyone, especially, like, if you've never had Aquavit, and I think if you've not grown up with it, it's a hard spirit to enjoy. Like, it's almost like what I see, like, nowadays online in the States, people are like, oh, Malort, as you say, Malort, which is like a Swedish thing. It's somewhat similar, but I think it's more of a liqueur. But it's really intense in flavor, and it's strong in its alcohol vibes. This is not like boozy or anything, but it just has that Aquavit caraway thing, and then like a little bit of an oaky dryness. But yeah, I love it, but I can totally see that it's not for everyone. What a long spiel. we went into there. Man, it totally reminds me of like having julefrokost. It totally reminds me of julefrokost. It's crazy. This is so like they released this for Christmas as well, so it makes sense. But it reminds me of julefrokost because julefrokost, Christmas lunch parties in Denmark and Scandinavia and whatnot, you have lots of beer and lots of aquavit, and you also have lots of meat. And because this has got like that smoky, meaty profile from the smoked malt, it's just reminding me of julefrokost. It's like all the different meat dishes, flæskesteg, medisterpølse, sylte, all kinds of things. Rullepølse, so many people have different things, but like frikadeller, so many, leverpostej, man, all these like really hefty, meaty, porky dishes. It just reminds me of that with a side of aquavit, but in a beer form. It's like talking about recreating weird pastry things and things in beer form. This is like recreating Danish julefrokost tradition in beer form, and most people will probably hate it, but I fucking love it. But maybe it's just because I'm Danish and I'm used to it. Man, this is so nostalgic and tasty. But it's totally like, it's something you only enjoy, I think, if you like aquavit. In terms of, if we compare it to Rauchbier, what's it like? It's very strong. It's almost something like Steinker's Eiche. Maybe a bit more meaty in smoke profile. I don't know. Like, it feels a bit more meaty than it has like that. It definitely has the juniper. And the juniper is, again, it's a bit more floral, maybe because it's fresh, but there's also that like pine sprucey thing. And then it has a huge waft of caraway and like, I'd say that there is a sherry. I'm just guessing it's Virginia, and maybe that's because it's in my head, but I'm getting an almost sherry type vibe. That could also just be slight oxidation in barrels or flavor from the barrels. There's a very nice lingering dry kind of woody, slightly tannic flavor on the end. There's lots of breadiness, lots of toasted bread, and again, huge meaty smokiness. Like, think smoked sausage, think smoked bacon, whatever. And then like there's that aquavit, and man, this is so nostalgic. I think this is really good. But I'm so sure, I haven't looked this up online really, so I don't know what it gets in terms of grades, but I'd imagine the ratings on something like this is all over the place. All over the place. This is really a connoisseur's drink, but I fucking love it. I think this is dope. But this is really, really good. I don't think it's world-class Rauchbier, but it's right. Like, I think it's an acquired taste as well. But like for me, I don't know. I just don't feel like going 95. Maybe if this sat in the cellar for a bit in the alcohol, because it's definitely got a huge kick of aquavit heat. But if it sat in the cellar for maybe 6 months before I cracked it, it might be a different story. But as it is right now, I'm still going to go 94. It's probably higher than anyone's ever given a grade to this beer, but I don't care. I love Rauchbier. I love aquavit. I love julefrokost. I love Scandinavia. So, thanks a ton for the beer getting along. This has been a very long video, but hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a lot of rambling and whatnot about, just Scandinavian and especially Danish traditions. But yeah, if you guys were lucky enough to get a can of HaandBryggeriet and Wood and Smoke, let me know what you thought of it. If you want to try a Scandinavian interpretation that screams Scandinavia of Rauchbier, this is it. And definitely more so than the regular Norwegian wood. So, very, very nice stuff. HaandBryggeriet still got it. Damn, this was so fun. So cheers, guys. Thanks a ton for watching. As always, remember to comment, subscribe. Check out the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Ring the bell for future notifications about videos. And I'm going to say cheers. And see you guys in another beer review.